I hope to make this hour and a half well worth your time. At the end, we'll have plenty of time for Q&A. My name is Pamela Thompson. I'm a recruiter and a career coach. As a recruiter, I help companies find people, and as a career coach, I help clients set their goals and attain them. And if your goal is to get a job in computer graphics, I can help you. All right? That's why we're here, right? I can help you to make your resume and demo reel better, the best it can be. That's the purpose of this show here. So if you're working on that, that's great. And if you already have one, that's really good, and we'll make it improved. I wanted to find out how many of you guys, since I can't see you, you can yell out if you're a student. Yeah. Okay. Teacher. Yeah. Professional. Yeah. All right. Sometimes. That's the point. The problem with being a professional in this business is that you're going to always be looking for work. It's pretty much the way it is. And so I'm going to talk to you today about several things, and one of them is going to be about your invisible resume. That's a really important item that you're going to be using throughout your career, and we'll talk about that. I'm also going to be talking about resumes and cover letters, demo reels, breakdowns, and the 5 main job categories for artists in the visual effects. Siegraf wants your feedback, and we're bribing you to fill out a course evaluation by giving away 4 Ateon Radeon HD 2900 XTs. So if you're interested in winning one of these, fill out a course evaluation at siegraf.org. courses_evaluation. And this course is number 18, resumes and demo reels. If yours don't work, neither do you. How many, by a round of yelling, because I can't see you, how many of you are looking for a job right now? Yeah. All right, you're ready for the job fair tomorrow? Yeah. Okay. And how many of you do you think will be looking for work sometime in the future in your life? Yes, all of us. Think about the job search process. How does it make you feel? Yeah, what was the last time you looked for work? Think about that. Looking for a job can cause dread. It can also cause fear or even terror, so terrifying that you can barely stand it. One thing is sure, you are going to be in for a lot of emotional ups and downs. So, I hope that today the ideas I present to you will help you to soar with confidence through the job search process. And during your job search, you're going to have to juggle many tasks. But if you stay focused, you'll find that looking for a job can be fun and exciting. It could be a thrill ride, even if you feel like you're in a free fall. So let's get started. One of the things that you need to think about is that you are a product. You are a person that is individual, unique, and you need to package yourself. So you are marketing yourself, and the marketing tools that you have are your resume, your portfolio, and your demo reel. These are keys to getting a job. They're basically, the purpose of these is to get you an interview. That's the whole reason. You want to get the attention of the employer so that you can get in an interview. So think about packaging yourself, what makes you special and unique. Now, before we go on and talk about these marketing tools, I want to talk to you about the most important marketing tool that you have. And this is the key to your success. This is your invisible resume. Can everybody see this? Yeah? You can't see it. You can't read it. You don't know what is on there. But other people know. This is your resume that you start building the moment you step into the door of your first job, or even to the door of your class at your school. And you start building this, and this is the most important thing that you are using to market yourself, but you don't know about it. What it is, it's your reputation. It's what people are saying about you. When that employer calls up and says, hey, how is Joe Smith? You want them to say, Joe Smith? You want them to say, Joe Smith is the most fantastic guy I've ever worked with in my entire life. You got to get that guy. He's fabulous. He's got the great attitude. He goes 125%, and he is just marvelous. You want them to say that about you. You don't want them to say, the real key to your success is your invisible resume and your reputation. Your attitude is so important. I cannot stress it enough. No job is too small. The very first job that you take, those people are going to go on to other places. They're going to know that Joe Smith is a fantastic worker, if you are. And they're going to talk about you because their next employer is going to ask, hey, do you know anybody? Because the best way to find people, coming from a recruiter, I tell people, my clients this. I say the best way to find people is through the people that you already have. So that really is the best way. And what they say is, hey, you know anybody who'd be good at this? And you want them to say, hey, Joe Smith, he's fabulous. Now, it can work the other way, too. I was recruiting for Frame Store, a company in England, and they were looking for character animators to work on Walking with Dinosaurs a few years back. And they called me and said, we need to find some character animators. So I said, great. I know lots of great character animators. And I sent them one guy who had a fantastic reel, really great, fantastic credits, really superb, had worked on a lot of stuff all over the place. Really great reel, nothing wrong with it. Really great resume, nothing wrong with that. Great credits. He lived in LA, was willing to relocate, and was ready to work for Frame Store. So I said, great, I found a candidate. I'm gonna, this is gonna be so good. So I was all excited to send him his work, and because I was really, thrilled to find somebody so perfect for the job. And so about a week went by, I gave him enough time to look at it, and then called him up and said, so what do you think of his work? Great work. Yeah, isn't it? And I said, and his credits are great too. And they said, yeah, they are. And I said, so are you going to interview him? No. We're not going to interview him. I said, why not? And they said, well, our art director worked with him several years ago at a company in Ireland and doesn't want to work with him again. Because the invisible resume, it cost him that job. Because on one of his very first jobs, before he knew better, he was not of the kind of person you wanted to work with. He's since changed because I counseled him a little bit and told him you gotta rebuild. So don't make it hard on yourself. Start from the beginning. All you guys who have never had a job before, this is the most important thing you can walk out of this room with, is knowing about the invisible resume. It follows you wherever you go, whether you know it or not. Okay? And believe me, there are numerous people who have fantastic credits who have a hard time finding work because they have a blemished reputation. And so you want to make sure that yours is fantastic. And it's easy to do. Really it is. You go a little bit extra, you become a problem solver, you don't complain, you follow direction, you have some good ideas, you contribute. It's not hard. It's just a matter of attitude. So make sure that you have enthusiasm from day one, because it really makes a difference. I mean, when someone's interviewing you, they've already seen your resume, they've already seen your work. Why the heck are they interviewing you anyway? It's all right there. You see what I've done. You see my work. You know, why do they talk to you? They talk to you because of 3 things they want to find out about you. They want to find out if you're willing to do the job, that's your attitude. If you can do the job, well, that's obvious from your portfolio and your resume and your demo reel. But the most important thing is, will you fit in? Are you a team player? Meaning, will you fit in with the rest of the guys and women here? And that's why they're interviewing you. And that's where you have to come across as likable, as gung-ho as they are. Okay? And part of that is by doing your homework, your research. You find out something about the company, and you can put all that in, and it makes them feel like, hey, he's one of us. He knows about all of our jobs that we've done. That's how you do it. So I just wanted to reiterate that it's very important, your reputation, more important than anything else you're ever going to do. If you have a great reputation, you're not going to be out of work much. But on those few occasions when you are out of work, you're going to have to deal with a recruiter, probably. And recruiters generally are overwhelmed, and they have to do a lot of sifting through resumes, and they want to find the best people that they can. Basically, their job is to find people for the company. And they know pretty much everything that's going on in the company. So even if you have applied to a company through a friend, it's a good idea also to go through HR, just because there might be other projects in the company that your friend doesn't know about. So it's good to go both ways. Any way you can, it's good to use it. Now, resumes and demo reels come in by the thousands to some of these companies, especially during this time. And how can you make yours stand out? Now, problem is that you spend a lot of time agonizing over your stuff. And you know how much time they spend on looking at your stuff? Probably about 5 seconds. So look. And they'll go through a stack like that. And you don't want to end up in the trash. Okay? You want to end up in the pile to be called. It's a short stack, but it's an important stack. And you don't want to be ending up in the trash. So we're going to talk about ways to avoid being trashed. Okay? I'm going to talk about the elements of a great resume. One of the things is you got to put your contact info on it. Believe it or not, I've gotten innumerable resumes without this. I put the phone number on the top because I've gotten resumes without names. But if I have your phone number, I can call and say, did you work at ILM and Pixar and Digital Domain? And are you a CG supervisor? I don't know what your name is, but I'd like to talk to you. I can leave a message like that, which sounds pretty stupid. Or I can, say, oh, hi, with your name. But the most important information, of course, is your phone number and your email address. If you put your email address on, I can email you 24/7 wherever you are in the world. And I've tracked candidates down who have moved from Canada to the Philippines to Hong Kong to Singapore, back to Canada to North Carolina. So, following them around. So if you keep your same email address, we can always keep track of you. And don't make us hunt for your contact info. One year at a Sejigraaf conference, there was a very unique resume. You guys always want to stand out. And this one stood out. It was in a circle, whirling circle. So you had to spin the resume to read it. Okay. And finally, at the very center was the phone number. But by that time, you're so dizzy, you're just looking, okay, I'm not going to call that person. That's in the circular file, in the trash. You want to make sure that your resume stands out for the right reasons and does not go into the trash. One of the ways to do that is to make sure that it's readable. You need to use a large legible type font. If your grandmother can read it, it's probably good. Okay? You want to make sure that it's easy to read because they're going through the resumes really quick, and if there's not anything that's catching their eye, they're just going to toss it aside. So you want to make sure it's really easy to read. Okay? It's not your life story. You don't want to put everything on there. You just want to put on the things that are going to grab someone's eye and make them call you. You want to list your skills. Make it really clear what you can do. You don't want to hide the fact that you're, a super expert in Maya and you've been animating for 5 years. Don't hide it. Let them know what you do. So many times you have to, resumes come in and you're trying to figure out what the heck is this person looking for. So list your skills and highlight your accomplishments. This is a time for you to brag. Your mother might have told you it's not polite to brag. I'm telling you, that's what you're supposed to do. This is a time when you are job hunting that you have to be a little bit more forthcoming about your accomplishments and your achievements and tell them what you did. If you put out more footage than anybody else in your department, if you can animate faster than anybody else in your classroom, whatever it is, if you've won a special award, if your film is in the animation festival, if you've had anything at all exhibited at Siegraf, put it on your resume. Don't hide the fact. I once coached a makeup artist on a resume writing thing, and one of the, I'm asking her, I keep asking her, like, what else did you do? Have you done anything else? And then she remembers, oh yeah, a volunteer thing I did a number of years ago. I did makeup for the California beauty pageant. Makeup artist. She should put that on there. Even if it's volunteer work and it's related to what you're doing, put it on, especially if it's a big thing. You want to be able to stand out from any other person that's applying for that job. And one of the ways to do that is to put on what your achievements are. Yeah, your responsibilities, that's one thing, but what you've really done, that's a different thing. So make sure that it's achievement-oriented. If you've saved the company money, it's implied that when you put these things on your resume, the employer is assuming that if you've done it before, you'll do it again, okay? And so they want to hire you because if you've saved the company money before, you'll probably do it again because that's the way you are. So anything like that. And of course, try and keep it to a single page. If you have multiple pages, make sure that your contact info is on every single page. One of the things that's important is to do with your resume is to proofread it and make sure there's no mistakes. If there are grammatical mistakes or spelling errors or things of that nature, it's going to go into the trash. Because if you don't spend enough time making your presentation as professional as possible, it means that you don't care enough. And that means that you're not going to care enough about my project. That's implied. Okay? So you want to spend as much time as possible making sure that your resume is absolutely perfect. Have someone else help you proofread it and make sure that your phone number is correct on it, that you haven't transposed any numbers. And be specific when you talk about what you want to do on your goal or objective. If you just say, I want a creative job in a creative industry at a creative company, yeah. Or if you're applying to a visual effects house and you say, I want a job in a visual effects company, okay, but what do you want to do exactly? Do you want to be a compositor? Do you want to animate? What specifically are you interested in doing? If you want to do several things, you can list those several things, but be specific about what you're looking for. And when you list your software skills, don't say a variety of 3D packages. That doesn't mean anything to us. Computers often are used with large companies, and they scan your resume. And what happens then is that a director or somebody will come in and say, I need 16 animators who know Maya, and we need them by next week. And so the recruiter immediately goes in the computer, types out Maya animator or Maya, and all of the resumes that have Maya come up. If you have a variety of 3D packages on your resume is not going to pop up, even if you know Maya. So be specific. And make sure that your resume copies well. What happens when you use orange or dark blue or purple paper? That. You can't use those colors. And when you use marbleized or parchment paper, it looks like someone spilled coffee on it. Here's a great resume that has grayscale artwork on it, covering the important vital information of how to contact the person. Don't do that. Okay? Don't put grayscale artwork on your resume. You can attach artwork to it, but don't include it. You don't want to get too artistic with your font selection. Remember Grandma? She needs to be able to read this resume. And she can't. So going over a resume checklist, you need to test your resume, fax it, and then make a copy of the fax, make a copy of the copy. Can you still read your phone number and email address easily? Can you tell what it is? That's what's going to happen. You're going to fax it to, or email it to someone, and then they're going to fax it to a different department. That department's going to fax it or copy it and send it off to a bunch of different supervisors, and then the supervisors might copy it again. So you want to make sure that it's legible over several generations. And of course, don't use orange or dark blue or purple paper, because we know that doesn't work very well. And review and update your resume every 6 months. It's really important to do that, because you might forget over time. You need to keep track of what projects you worked on. Because if you think about it over, if you haven't redone your resume over a course of time, and then you have to try and think back of what projects did I work on, it's really difficult. So as you get new projects in, keep a running thing. Even if it doesn't look great or neat or anything, just keep some kind of document going where you can refer back to it, because you're going to need to update it on a regular basis. And if your information changes, if your phone number changes, or area code change, email changes, any of that kind of stuff, it's an excuse for you to contact the employers and give them a new package and update them with where you are and what you're doing. They want to know. Good resumes are really easy to read, and they have plenty of white space. I went to a job search workshop recently. As a recruiter, I was the only recruiter in the place other than the person putting on the workshop, but I wanted to see how somebody else would do that. And it was really interesting. One of the exercises that they had people do, we had 5 different groups of 5 people, and we were given the same file of 50 resumes, all right, a big stack of 50 resumes. And we didn't know this at the time, but we all went through the 50 resumes. We had 4 minutes to find 3 resumes of people we would contact. These were people that were in the job search workshop looking for work. They weren't recruiters. They were people from all different kinds of jobs. Some people were from Micron, and some people were like from the state government. And what was interesting to me was that resumes that were picked out all had similar characteristics. And I pointed it out to my group because all these different groups picked out, some of them picked out the same resumes too. But there were 6 resumes that were picked out by all these different groups. And they all had the same characteristics. Plenty of white space. Bullets were used for marking, for making different points. The objective was very clear. Name at the top, big letters. Phone number, big. They all looked pretty much the same. And they all pretty much looked like this kind of format, where the contact info was at the top, and then some of the executive type resumes had like a little summary or a highlight of qualifications under the objective. But they all basically had the same layout. They all had all of these things were either all caps or they were in bold type. And they all had the same format with a lot of white space between. There were about 25 people that did this exercise, and they all picked out the same basic type thing. Yeah, there were a few people that were technical, and they picked out resumes that had a little bit more text in them, but there were only 2 of those out of the whole group. So this was a very interesting exercise to me, because these people came from all different kinds of companies, and they didn't have an HR background, but that was what appealed to them. And they were asked, why did you pick out these resumes? What made you think that you should call these people? And they said, well, they were clear on the objective. They were clear. It was easy to read. That was the most important thing that they said, probably over and over again. It was easy to read. They didn't feel like, oh, I have to set that aside and read it later. They won't. It'll go in the trash. You want to avoid having your resume go in the trash. So to make it stand out, your accomplishments are going to make it stand out. That's what's going to make the difference. One of the things that's interesting is that it's not your life story, but you're trying to put your life on one single page. And the purpose of this resume is to intrigue someone enough to call you. Now, I got a resume once from a guy who had a production background, and one of the things he had done was he was an intern at Amblin Entertainment, which was Steven Spielberg's company. And he was looking for work as a production manager at the time. And one of the items on his resume at the very bottom, when he talked about working for Amblin, he talked about all his different tasks. And one of his jobs was walking Steven Spielberg's dog. So I had to call him and find out what kind of dog did Steven Spielberg have. I got him a call, So if there's something that's unique or special or weird that you've done like that. By the way, Steven Spielberg's dog was a little mutt, he said. It was like real scruffy and difficult to deal with, he said. Wow, what a surprise. So your purpose of your resume is to get that phone call from a possible employer, which will lead to getting an interview, which will lead to getting a job. And you basically want to avoid your resume getting trashed. So some of the ways to avoid getting trashed is to not send your resume as an attachment unless you have been told that you can do so. Because a lot of companies are not going to open up attachments. They just won't. They have a lot. Like DreamWorks, I think, is one of those companies that just won't open up any attachments. So send your resume as embedded text in the email if you're going to email. By the way, do not use your work email to send a resume to an employer. Don't put your work email on your resume. Does that make sense? Because the employer that you're trying to get a job with is going to say, wow, this person isn't respecting their employer that they have now. So how are they going to respect if I hire them? Are they going to use my facility to help them find work? So you don't want to do that. And don't expect the employer to go the extra mile to try and find you. Make it easy for them. You don't want to, if somebody asks you to send a resume, send a resume. Don't send a website address where your resume is posted. That gives them extra work to do. Follow directions. That's one of the first tests. Make sure that you do what they ask for. These people are really overloaded with work, and if you get a call and they ask you, or you meet somebody at some place and they say, oh, send me your resume, send them the resume. You can send them your website address as well, but don't send that alone. Your website address can be included on your resume, but don't send it as a response to sending a resume. Okay, we're going to go into cover letters now. One of the things about Siegraf, which is really great, is that tomorrow and Wednesday and Thursday, I believe, there's going to be the exhibit floors open and also the job fair, and this is an opportunity for you to make face-to-face contact with employers, making a personal connection. And whenever you sit next to anybody in any session while you're waiting for the session to start, if you're in line at the electronic theater, if you're getting on the bus, you all have something in common here. And this is a chance for you to make those personal connections. Because the best way to get a job is through direct employer contact. It's not through recruiters, it's not through job postings, it's when somebody says, oh yeah, we met, I like you, I'd like to hire you. So when you meet someone at Siegraf, you follow up with your, sending your stuff to them and mention that where you met them at Siegraf. If it was in, at the job fair, if it was getting on the bus, if it was in the elevator of your hotel, wherever it might have been. I'll remind them. You all have common ground here, so you should be talking to each other, and you never know who might be an employer or a possible employer or might have a lead. Maybe the person sitting next to you is a compositor and you're an animator, but that compositor knows about some animation jobs. You never know. So you need to talk to people. The best thing about when you use a cover letter is if you have a referral from someone. Let's say that George Lucas referred you. Hey, use that name, okay? Anybody that works at a company. If you know somebody who works at a company and they're in good standing, they're not about to get fired or anything like that, use that name in your, in your cover letter. If you've met someone anybody who works at a company here, and you want to work at that company, and you say, can I use your name? I'm going to send my work in, and they'll say, sure. And so you can say, I met so-and-so at Siegraf, and they recommended that I apply, or I went to school with someone, anything like that. Or use a cover letter also if you have a particular advantage that you bring to the company. Let's say you know that the company is opening a shop in the Philippines, and you have lived in the Philippines for 5 years, and you have been visiting the Philippines for over the last 10 years every year. Well, you have an advantage there that other people don't have. So anything like that, any kind of information like that that you have about a company that you can bring to the cover letter, throw it in there. A cover letter should be about 3 to 5 paragraphs long. One of the things is that you want to have some kind of personal connection with the company. So let's say you haven't met anybody, you don't know anyone, you haven't gone to the right school, any of that kind of stuff. How do you find out about a company? There's lots of ways to find out about companies, websites, all their publications that they do if they're a public company. There's all different ways, and one of the things that you want to do is do your homework so that you find out as much as you can about a company before you interview with them. Cover letters are marketing tools. So just keep that in mind that it's a sales tool, just like your other stuff. And you want to make sure that you use it to promote yourself as best you can. They should be about 3 to 5 paragraphs long at the most. And you need to be really specific and clear, and it has to be easy to read. And it should always be addressed to a particular person. It's not hard to find out. Even if you don't know anybody else except the head of the company, send it to the head of the company. That's fine. One of the things that a cover letter does is that you are able to point out what makes you different and what makes you special. It also gives you an opportunity to express your personality in the cover letter. So it's used to clarify what you're offering the company, what particular things are you bringing, and if you're doing a career change, you want to point it out. And you can do a double-sided thing. If you have a resume on one side, you can do your cover letter on the back. There's all kinds of jobs for people. There's a world of opportunity, and there are non-artistic jobs in computer graphics where you don't need a reel or portfolio. But artists do need a reel and portfolio. It might not be a requirement for graduation from your school, but it is a requirement for graduation into the real world, into getting a job. It's a requirement for employment. So even if your school does not require you to do a portfolio and a demo reel, you need to do one anyway. There are a lot of jobs for artists in all kinds of areas. They're wanted all over the world. Artists work on music videos and games and ride films and scientific visualizations and product design and military simulations and architectural firms. They work in the motion picture industry, not only on the films, but also in motion picture advertising and the posters. They also work in previs and television, and they do title sequences and theme park design and themed restaurants. They work in commercials and advertising, direct-to-video features, training films, corporate videos, and industrial films. A lot of money sometimes in some of these things. The internet is not dead. There's a lot of people building websites who need your help. Slot machines, a lot of gambling companies are making incredible slot machine visuals to lure your money away. Multimedia and educational software, legal recreations. Consumer products, it's a big one. I used to recruit for Disney, for Mulan. When I was recruiting for Mulan, I called up some people that I knew in the consumer products division and asked if they would like to work on Mulan, and they said, yeah, we would. And then I got a call from HR saying to me, hey, those guys over in consumer products, they're too valuable. They can't work on Mulan, they can't work in feature animation. We need them to work in consumer products, because that is where Disney and lots of other companies make their money. So if you want to have a steady job and do 3D modeling or whatever it might be, design, all kinds of stuff, look into consumer products, because that's a huge market. And people have become really protective of their artists in that area. Broadcast design and motion graphics, exhibits and trade shows and museums. Medical illustration is big, growing even more. And of course, we still have publishing and illustration. Even though there are ebooks, there's still a lot of books being published. And mobile phones. That's a growing thing. America doesn't have much animation on mobile phones yet, but it will. Other countries have it already. So you can see that not all the jobs are at Pixar, ILM, or Disney. I'm going to talk a little bit about demo reels now, before we show some of them. And most companies now are using DVDs. Some companies still look at VHS cassettes, but most of them look at DVDs. Some companies will look at websites. You need to phone in and find out if they will, unless it's posted on their website. And when you send a DVD, before you send it anywhere, make sure it works. I've gotten a lot of DVDs that just don't function. So check it first and make sure it works. And make sure it works in either a PC or a Mac if you're doing both. Make sure it's autoplay if possible. Check it and make sure it works. Check it in a lot of different machines, not just yours. One of the things you need to do is always include a resume and a reel breakdown list with your reel. A reel breakdown list basically explains exactly what you did on every shot. You need to label everything with your contact info because you want to be able to be reached. And start with your best and most recent work. A lot of people wait until the end. That stuff's never going to be seen. Now, all the reels I'm going to show today are 3 minutes or less. Most of them are actually 2 minutes or less. And I have to tell you that one shot is all you really need on a reel if it's really fantastic. There's a guy who now has his own company, but started out at Sony. And he brought in his reel, and it had one shot on it. And it was a shot of a photorealistic whale swimming through some water. And it looked like footage that was shot at SeaWorld. And so the guy started talking to him about, how did you make this? You know, was this just footage that you shot at SeaWorld? Why are you showing this? And the guy started talking about how he did the whale and how he did the water. And one of the big guys in the room stood up and kind of sidled towards the front of the door and just stood like this, because he wasn't going to let that candidate leave the room without a job offer. So it just takes one shot, one really great piece of work. Sometimes it just takes some details. I had another client, Cimex Digital Studios, that I sent a reel to, and there's a bunch of different things on the reel, more than one shot. But one shot was the one that got the guy hired. And I asked my client, what about that reel made it stand out? There was a shot of a dinosaur stomping down a street, stomping on cars and asphalt and all that kind of stuff. And there were some puffs of dust that would come up and asphalt as the dinosaur stomped down the street. And my client said it was the dust. It was the attention to the detail that got the guy hired. The little tiny things. He was so particular. It was the dust. Okay? So pay attention to the details. If you're going to, work on something, make sure that it's stellar. You need to focus on your strengths. If you're not a modeler, don't try modeling. There's plenty of models available that you can buy, or you might have a friend who's a great modeler. Get him to make you a model. Give him credit on your breakdown, but he can use his stuff. And your reel should demonstrate your abilities and your creative talents. And when you have a demo reel, you need to figure out to show a variety of stuff. You don't want to show the same kickboxer doing the same kick over and over and over again. You want to see different things. And try and customize your reel. Some people have asked if you need to have several different reels, and I say yes, because you might be going after several different jobs, or the reel might not be applicable to certain companies. It's not that hard to do when you have editing ability and stuff like that. But one of the things you need to consider is what kind of company and what kind of work do you want to do when you make your reel. If you are looking for a job at a company like Pixar, they're not going to be really interested in any photorealistic stuff because that's not what they do. If you're interested in working at a company like Digital Domain, they do more photorealistic stuff. So think about what company you want to work for and what kind of work you want to put on your reel. And you might have 2 different reels for 2 different kinds of things that you do. You need to include your contact info. I recommend that you include your contact info even within your reel in case the label falls off, in case the case goes missing. If they still have that DVD, even if the label's off, they can play it and see where you are. I have a friend who was formerly at Animal Logic and now is a recruiter at another company. And he had about 70 reels in his office that he refused to throw away, even though he couldn't find any of the people whose work was on it. He wanted to hire all these people, but he couldn't. He couldn't because he didn't know how to contact them. Joe Smith forgot to put his phone number and his email address on his reel, even though he was a professional. So don't do that to yourselves. If you make a brilliant reel and do brilliant work, make sure that we know how to find you. We want to hire you, really. So put your stuff on. I mean, I can't emphasize it enough. I've had so many recruiters tell me, I'm so glad you talk about that every single darn year, because every single darn year we have so many of these reels that come in without that stuff on it. And I say, okay, well, I'll do it again. So I do it every time. And it seems like it makes no sense to say that over and over again, that people wouldn't know. but people forget. So make sure that they know how to contact you. What's the point otherwise? You might want to divide your reel into different sections or combine it. It's up to you. But this is one way of organizing a reel. And you need to update it every 6 months with new work. We expect that you're going to be improving over time. So the new work needs to go on. And it needs to go on the front end and not on the back end. One of the reels I once watched, I had my daughter on my lap when she was about 2 years old, and I didn't have the remote nearby. I was watching the reel. I had stuck it in, and it had gone by, and there was a bunch of, like, you know, it was from Bulgaria, and there was a bunch of, like, okay commercials, not really that great. And then color bars came up at the end of the reel. And then I was starting to get up, starting to remove her from my lap. And the most fantastic, beautiful, classical, hand-drawn, traditional animation came up. I said, what the heck? So I called a friend of mine who did that kind of work and said, skip the first 20 minutes, okay? I mean, I only was watching it because, you know, I would not have watched it normally. People would never have seen it. I said, skip the first 20 minutes, just go fast forward, and you'll be surprised. As I was. Do not put your best stuff on the tail end, and also do not put it after a slate comes up saying that it's the end. Okay? Keep it on the front. Put your best stuff front. You need to grab the employer's eye immediately. They're not going, there's never, that's a rare situation, I'm telling you. No one is going to be sitting through 20 minutes of demo reel. Okay? No one. This was a unique and unusual occurrence. Most times, people are going to spend about 30 seconds on your reel. If they don't see something in the first 30 seconds, you're out of there. They're moving on. One of the things that's very important is to remove old work. When I was working at Virgin Interactive Entertainment as the manager of art there, I had a friend of mine came in with a portfolio. It was really nice. People were paging through. We always had like these big group review boards, and all the artists would page through the work and make their comments and decide whether or not they wanted to bring the person in for an interview. So they're paging through his stuff, saying, cool, yeah, great, awesome, what's this? I grabbed it out of the artist's hand and held it behind my back and said, ignore that, please. This was a 40-year-old man who was applying for a job at a video game company, and he had included a piece of work that he had won an award for when he was in 8th grade. Okay? That belongs in your living room on your mantelpiece if you'd like to frame it, but it does not belong in your portfolio. Remove your old work. You're improving every day, or at least we expect you to be. You're going to be judged on the weakest piece in your book and in your portfolio and in your demo reel. So you need to make sure that all of it is really strong, because otherwise, see, I was there so I could help him. But normally, no one is going to be there to speak out for you. So you're going to be put in the trash because you're judged on the weakest link in your stuff. And you don't want to get there. You want to get in the to-call pile. So remove old work, even if you love it. And take your time to make your demo reel the absolute best it can be. And make sure that you have a professional presentation. Make sure that people know what the heck is going on. When you use a screenshot on the outside wrapper, it really helps to make your work stand out. People can remember from a single image that you've done in your portfolio or in your demo reel. You want to package yourself so that they can remember who you are. It's like a brand identity. And make sure that all the details are there. All the details are in place. It matters. This is an example of a DVD wrapper. As you can see, she has her contact info here. So even if this is the only piece, let's say that this has gone through the ringer. It's gone through the HR department, and it's gone through the art department, and it's gone through a bunch of artists, and it's been, somehow the DVD's missing. People love the work. Somehow the resume's missing. Somehow the real breakdown is missing. This is the only piece of paper somehow that's still here, but we can still call her because we know that that is how to reach her, right there on her DVD wrapper. Okay? This is a person who went to Ringling, and they're really good about packaging their work there. She has a matching DVD with a DVD label, again, with her contact info on it. I can't stress enough to keep your contact info on there because you don't want to be one of those artists that the animal logic guy wants to hire but can't find. You can include traditional artwork on the tail end of your DVD or in a separate chapter. Sculpture will support modeling. Photography supports lighting and compositing. And we're going to talk about the breakdown. What is it anyway? It's nothing to be nervous about. It is a credit list or a shot list. It describes what you did on the reel. It basically gives the information so the person calling you knows what to talk to you about. You need to include it and be very specific. For example, if you worked on a Wizard of Oz film and you animated the witch melting, say animated witch melting using Maya for company B and using hardware C. And it took me however long to do it, if you want to include that too. The information to be included is basically what was your involvement on every shot in your reel. We don't want to be calling you up and saying, wow, fantastic lighting, when you were the person who did the animation or the modeling. It's not good. You know, you say. So that's why we need you to be specific. If you did everything on it, say that. And what project was it done for? And did you do it at home? That's fine. If it's a personal project, that's okay. We'd like to know about it. And what tools did you use? Here's an example of a breakdown list that uses a type of grid. And on the top, across the top, are all the different job type things from directing to compositing. And across the side here are all the different shots on his reel. And over here, he has like little dots showing, okay, you can follow this down and see that he did compositing on these different things. And of course, he has his contact info up there. This is I like this kind of breakdown myself because they have like little thumbnails here of each shot, which you can see, like little screenshots. And he describes what he did on each shot. One of the other ways that you can do a breakdown is to include it directly on your reel. If you put slates before each shot, or you can have a superimposed a subtitle on your reel that describes what you did. That works as well, and that's good because then we don't have to go looking at a piece of paper in between the shots and trying to follow it. So that's also a really great way of doing a breakdown. One of the things about working on a group project, whether you're a student or a professional, is you really need to be specific about what you did. If a bunch of students worked on the same project and they all send their stuff to the same company, they need to be specific. I mean, it's okay If it's a good project, people will get hired, but you need to be specific about what you did. If you did the direction, if you did the compositing, if you did the lighting, whatever it was. If you did everything on your reel, say so. Or if you did everything in a shot, say so. Everything done by me. One of the things that's important is to never send your only copy to anybody. This has been done. A friend of mine made that mistake and sent her reel to a very large company, and they do very well at keeping track of most of their reels, usually. But in this case, she had to reconstruct her entire demo reel because it was lost. Don't send your only copy to somebody. That should be obvious, but it's happened, so I mention it because I don't want it to happen to you. And don't put your best stuff last because, as I said before, the viewer might not ever see it. And in fact, if you do it here, they will not see it. We don't really care about your progress. I'm sorry, but we don't care that you're getting better. We want to see your best stuff. So don't include anything that you think is mediocre because that means it really is mediocre. Okay? Because you're your harshest critic. We're artists, right? We want to focus on the visuals and not the audio. No offense to my friend Paul Stanley, but kiss off loud, obnoxious sound and music. You don't need to put color bars on your reel or count down, 5, 4, 3, 2. You don't want to ask an employer to do any extra work. So don't expect them to go to your website to see your work. Make it easy for them to view it. A lot of places will view your work on a website, and a lot of places won't. So find out what they prefer. And send new work in when you have it. Every 6 months you should be sending in new work to a company that you really want to work for. People keep track. People do keep track of how you're progressing. A lot of companies have files on you, electronic files, and they take notes. When they do a demo reel review, Disney does this. They have everybody come into the room and they have a catered lunch and everybody goes around, they look at all the reels and all the portfolios. They make comments. There's a person who is a dedicated person who writes down notes of what everybody said, copies down what everybody says during the meeting, and also all the different notes are collected and put into a file. And then that file grows and grows as you apply, and they make notes about how you've improved. And at a certain point, you're called hireable. And that means that when you reach that point and your skill set matches their openings, they're going to give you a call. Okay? A lot of companies do that. So you want to make sure that you update your reels. Your reel is not going to be returned. It's not a boomerang. So expect it to be it's gone. That's part of your marketing budget. I know it's expensive. It's less expensive than it used to be, at least with a VHS, although postage is going up, but at least it doesn't weigh as much. And one of the things you want to do is minimize satanic and violent material because this limits your employment possibilities. Some companies aren't interested in seeing that stuff. So think about that. And don't include anything that doesn't relate to the work that you want to do. And don't expect us to give you any feedback. As you know, they're really busy. If they do give you feedback, if you're lucky enough to get a phone call or to get a note or to get any kind of feedback at all from anybody, take notes. Listen to them. Don't argue with them. Try and hear what they're trying to say. Okay? Pay attention. There's a lot of people who have gotten work through this way of improving. I have a friend who is still I hired him in 1990 on The Simpsons. He was a background designer, and he's still working on the show to this day. But he didn't get there on the first try. He took 4 different tests to work on The Simpsons. And each time he took a different test, and it was 4 different tests, so 4 different times, 4 different tests. And each time he did better on the tests, the directors kept giving him feedback because they kind of liked that he was showing improvement. And finally they hired him, and he's still working there 17 years later. I hope he doesn't have to look for another job soon, because that's pretty much probably all he knows to do now. All right, but listen if someone's going to give you feedback. It's so rare and it's so important to really pay attention to what they're saying. Try not to be defensive. Try to listen and hear what they're saying. I know it's hard, but try and do it. And don't take the criticism personally. Also, if someone's not going to call you immediately, don't take it personally. There could be all kinds of reasons going on. The show could have been canceled. There's all kinds of different things that could have happened. In fact, it could range all over the map for why someone is not calling you. So just keep plugging away at finding work. One of the things I want to talk to you about is not waiting till a conference to send your work in. Probably a lot of you guys have waited until Siegraf to send your work, to bring your work here. That's okay. You'll be ready for next year then. My recruiting friend at Digital Domain says that in a normal week, regular week, they get 30 to 40 reels. 30 to 40 in a normal week. When they advertise or post a job, they get around 300 to 400 reels. At Siegraf week, they get between 3,000 and 4,000 reels. Think about that. It's going to take them a while to go through the reels. So if you don't hear from them immediately, it means that they may be reviewing reels still. It's going to take them about 3 months to get through all the reels that they see at Siegraf. Now, some of them will do it more quickly, because some of them will just fast forward through a reel really quick, after all the agony you've done, making sure that your reel is the greatest it ever could be. They might spend 30 seconds on it, possibly, if you're lucky. They're going to fast forward and see if there's anything that catches their eye. That's why you need to make sure that your best stuff is up front, because they're not going to give you any more time than that. So you want to grab them right away. And then you have to go back and say, what was that? So what you want to do next year, or starting this year, is start sending your work to the companies that you really want to work for in December. Okay? Or for students that are about to graduate, they should start sending their reels in April or May, probably. That way they can really get viewed properly, the way they should be, not the way that they are done during this time. I'm sorry to tell you that, but that's the truth. And some companies will haul the reels all the way back to their companies and look at them properly over the course of time. And some of them will just fast forward them in their hotel suites at night and see if there's anybody that they can call. And I asked them, I've asked many different recruiters at many different companies, why the heck do you even come to Siegraf? Why? Why do you have the big booth? Why do you collect all those reels? And they say, and this makes it so valuable to you, why you are so valuable. They say, because there might be 1 or 2 or 3 out there that we really want to find. And that's why we spend the big bucks on the booths, which are very expensive. That's why we send all of our guys down, stay at these hotel suites, spend the money to try and find the 2 or 3 of you guys out there that they really want to find. So they are interested in finding you. They really are. They want to hire you. You need to make it easy for them. That's what this whole thing is about. One of the things to make it easy is to emphasize your strengths. If you're super great at something, make sure they know about it. There's no one way to success. There's lots of different directions you can go in. Try them out. Your demo reel needs to be impressive, not excessive. It can be really short, 1 minute or less, and it can be very impressive. And you need to always include a breakdown sheet and always label it with your contact info. I'm saying that again, just remember it. And basically, your demo reel gives you a view into the way your brain works and how you solve problems. So think about what you want to show. Your demo reel is your first date with the employer, so make them want to see more. There's no magic formula. It's just hard work and persistence and networking. And networking is all about making connections. Part of the word network is work. Think about that. It leads to work. So weave a big web, a big net. People hire who they know and like. So meet as many people as you can and make those connections. There's basically 5 jobs in visual effects. We're going to show some demo reels shortly, finally. There's modeling and texturing, lighting, animating and compositing. These are the basic 5 jobs. And small companies want people who can do a lot of these jobs because you're basically going to be doing the whole shot. You're going to be doing everything. Large companies want you to be really good at one of these things. So that's the difference when you think about what kind of work you want to do, what you're good at. If you're good at a lot of different things, apply to a small shop. You'll get to do a lot of different things. If you really love just doing one thing, apply to a huge place. You know, a character animator, you know, or a special effects animator might just be doing one little thing on all kinds of different shows at a large shop. So the first reel I'm going to show you is a modeling reel. Okay. modeling. I can show it to you again if you'd like, but modeling, modeling is creating props, characters, and environments, and modelers must build models that are high quality, efficient to render, and easy to animate. As you notice, the model begins as a series of lines called a wireframe that outlines the shape of the object and can be viewed from different angles. And a modeler should know how to sculpt and how to model things in the real world, know how to draw. A background in art, design, architecture, or animation is a plus. Now, with his reel, he also shows textures and compositing. Many times now, modelers also need to know these other skill sets. And this guy was a graduate from the Art Institute of Pittsburgh, and this reel was less than 2 minutes long. So it shows a lot of diversity of work in a short time frame. For your portfolio, reality is key. If it's a horse, it should look like a horse and show a sense of proportion and detail unless you're going for a stylized cartoon look. Wireframes of models show how efficient you are as a modeler, and you should show 4 views of a model on a turntable. That's one way to do it. He didn't do that, but you can. Include a hard copy or video output of digital models, photographs of traditional sculptures or models, a drawing portfolio, or model designs and sketches and life drawing. Your portfolio should show you understand modeling methods, how to build true shapes and forms. Many places also like you to know how to use shaders and textures to add detail. So this reel, he has on the front cover, I should take my tape off to show you, but one of his images on the front, several of his images, including the building and the prowler car, the barong mask, and the first thing with the dropping balls. And on the back, he has a screen shots with a description. His demo reel breakdown basically is on the back of his reel. And of course, his contact info is on the front. Don't make us hunt for your contact info. Make sure that we can find it right away on the front. This was a student reel. The next reel I'm going to show you is a professional reel. And it's a modeler and a texture artist. And texture artists define the surface qualities of an object, including colors and textures of characters, props, and environments. Some studios might call this a render artist or look development artist. Texture artists create the look of more complex CG elements. This could include painting texture maps, working with technical directors to enhance the look and create lighting setups. And the skills that you should have is a strong art background and expertise with digital paint programs, such as Photoshop and 3D paint applications. And you should understand CG lighting. For your portfolio or demo reel, use good textures that are appropriate for the model. Show that you can create your own textures and have good judgment on how to use them. Your textures should add detail that otherwise would have to be modeled. This is a person The next reel I'm going to show you is a lighting reel. Although this last reel had great lighting, and he's actually emphasizing modeling, texturing, and matte painting. But this next reel is a recent professional, and he's a lighter. And lighting artists work in the 3D environment, creating the look of individual elements and entire scenes. This can include the creation of textures or the subtle use of virtual lights to enhance the mood and tone of a scene. The skills are you should be able to light sets, understand color, contrast, and lighting design, and be familiar with 3D lighting. Know how lighting can be used to increase efficiency by reducing the number of elements that need to be built in a scene. This is one of the most overlooked aspects of a demo and the most overlooked jobs for people. Lighting should create a mood of atmosphere. Don't have overlit scenes just to show off models. A lighting should add excitement and depth to a scene. A portfolio showing video examples of 3D lighting or traditional work, including painting, drawing, or photography, is appropriate. Lighters are hard to find. So if you have an interest in lighting, and this guy also does compositing as well, a double threat. Most people now have, even in large studios, are doing 2 jobs instead of just 1. And one of the combinations that's most popular is lighting and compositing. About that reel is it's 1 minute long. That's it. And this is a graduate from the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale, and that was one of his first jobs, was on the barnyard. Hope a lot of you guys saw that movie. So we need to support our industry. Next I'm going to show you an animation reel. Animation is the creation of illusion of motion. Character animation is bringing something to life. It's not just moving objects, it's creating a performance. It's all about acting. So you need to make you study acting, not just moving pixels around. It's about creating a character. It's about creating a personality. You want to, enjoy that movie, and the way you enjoy that movie is by getting involved in the personality of the characters. And the way that that's done in computer animation is through you, the character animator. Computer character animators may have a background in traditional hand-drawn or stop-motion animation in addition to training in computer animation. A background in classical animation is a big skill, is a big plus. And keep in mind that your character has weight. The characters should not float when they move. And most student animation reels, unfortunately, lack weight. The characters must have feelings and personality. They must feel like they're alive. You need to demonstrate a strong background in traditional animation or traditional character development. Character animators need to have strong storytelling ability. So if you're a storyteller and you have great acting ability, you'll do well as a character animator. An art background in life drawing, painting, and sculpting is also helpful. Training should cover anatomy, perspective, and composition, including solving problems in weight, balance, movement, space, construction, and proportion. Artistic ability and sensibility in the areas of modeling, lighting, and rendering is a plus. A knowledge of inverse kinematic systems, constraints, and expressions is a plus, as is character animation experience with demonstrated abilities in facial animation and lip syncing. So you need to know a whole heck of a lot to be able to do this job, and that's why it's so hard to find good character animators. A video reel of animated scenes which demonstrates digital acting and performance is what we're looking for, and convey nuances of emotion and personality. So we're going to show you, it's not just about jumping and walking, it's not just about pushing something, it's about a personality. So I'm going to show you character animator, student reel. This was a Ringling student who's now working at Electronic Arts, and this reel is less than 2 minutes long. Yes, that got her a job. So you can see that it's all about character. That's the piece that shows that personality really makes the difference in telling the story. And that film was only 2 minutes long. You don't have to create an epic in order to get a job. Understanding animation concepts is more important than knowing a special software. A lot of companies will hire you if even if you don't use their software. If you have a film like this that shows that you understand the animation concepts, they'll train you in their software. A lot of companies have their own software, so it doesn't really matter what software you use anyway. Effects animators, I don't have a reel to show you, but you've probably seen some of it if you went to the Surf's Up movie showings today, or if you've seen anything that shows fire, smoke, dust, steam, all those kinds of things are done by effects animators. And effects animators are really hard to find because most people want to be a character animator if they're an animator. And effects animators create all of the non-character aspects of a show. So they create anything like all the special particle effects that you see and all the things that make the film seem real. Effects animators also create the vehicles, natural effects like water, tornadoes, hurricanes, all that kind of stuff. They add the forces of nature to an animated film, as well as animate the props and the furniture and other objects. So if you can demonstrate expertise in the realistic creation of wind or rain or dust or fire or shadows, that's terrific. And you should emphasize that in your reel and express the need that you want to have a job as an effects animator. You'll probably find work because there aren't a lot of people who do this. Create a believable world and set the mood for the story. Have a passion for the elements of nature. A video reel showing a variety of effects is required. Show proficiency in modeling, lighting, particle systems, rendering, and texturing. Next, I'm going to talk about compositing. This is where everything comes together. It's the final step where the computer animated characters are combined with real actors and the live action plates. The compositor is responsible for integrating multiple elements such as green screen elements, 3D elements, and background plates into a single final image. It is what makes it possible for dinosaurs to walk down the middle of the Burbank Mall. It all comes together in rendering. As Terrence Masson states in his book, CG 101, rendering is the cinematography of computer graphics. Rendering is the creation of images in the computer from the modeling, texturing, lighting, and animation information. So for a compositor, you need to have a thorough understanding of color, light, film, and traditional photographic techniques. You have to have a strong visual sense and the ability to distinguish subtle differences that affect the matching of elements created in multiple mediums. You have to have an eye for color and scene match. And for demo reel, you should show your skills in compositing moving footage, preferably film footage, animation, and live action. Include before and after shots and show the elements you had to work with, and other examples of work in computer graphics or traditional art mediums is a plus. And I'm going to show you the compositing reel next. This again is a student reel, and this person went to the Savannah College of Art and Design. Let's see if I can do this. She looks at Zoic. She now works at Zoic as a compositor. And that was a student reel that got her the job. That was 1.5 minutes long, just so that you know. She also had her complete film, the gallery, which is on the DVD as a menu item that you can select if you like. So if you have made a film and you want to have the complete film on there, you can have that as a separate chapter in your demo reel. The next item I want to show you is an environmental artist who is working at a video game company, Heavy Iron. Another Ringling grad. Takes a while for this one to load. A lot of you guys might not know much about video games, but it is a growing industry and actually has more money in it than the feature films. So this is a person who is an environmental artist. Her reel shows different things that she's built. As you can see, there's no sound on this. I'm showing this. Often we turn off the sound, so when you guys are agonizing over your sound and making sure everything syncs up, and you're trying to cut to the sound, don't bother, because a lot of times we don't even listen to it. The only time when you really need to make sure that sound syncs is when you are a character animator and you have lip sync. So, also, the only time you really need to have a reel is really when you are a character animator, because that's when you make things move, or FX animator. But you can have a modeling portfolio. You don't really need to have a reel unless you want to have the turntable spinning. So this is some samples of different things she's done for video games. Gives you some idea of the kind of work. A lot of people start out as prop designers and move up into character design or visual development. That's one way of entering if you're a designer. I met someone earlier today who wanted to ask about different kinds of reels. And I hope that I've shown you several different kinds. If you're interested in directing, obviously you need to have a reel that shows your directing talent, which means that you need to create a reel with a story probably, because that's what we want to see if you're looking for a directing type of job. For riggers, showing a reel with several character rigs and showing them moving would be great. Often we don't get rigging reels, so I don't have any to show you. And this is just some more video game footage. And I'm going to move on to the final two things I want to show you before we do some Q&A and finish up. I'm going to show you some work that are done by students. It's pretty amazing work. It's done at a school in Germany. And this is student work. Can't see my control. Okay. I'm trying to work this control and it's not working very well. Okay. All right. It's not happening. Chris? All right. I'm trying to get to that. Thank you.
That one there?
Yeah.
And that one there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. He's there. This was a student
In der
meal.
Tür so groß, kommt so eine kleine Mütze.
Hallo! Hier, ich wusste gar nicht, dass mein Trabi zum Flugzeug umbauen kann.
Die hat doch keine Chance, hier gleich wieder recht.
Und gießt du immer? Und jetzt gießt du immer? 3, 2, 1 und ab! Alles klar, Jungs?
Die Maschine ist jetzt bereit zu boarden.
So that shows all of the different steps put together. Let's see if I can do this properly now. Wait. My Day from Hell I'm trying to get to. I have an English title here I'm trying to get to. Well, I'll show you part of the English version instead of the trailer because I can't get to the trailer. Okay.
It's really
This
small.
one?
Yeah, it's so hard to see.
Okay.
Should do it. Did you get it?
Yeah. I hope. But I do. Technology.
Date from Hell, English version?
Yeah.
Okay. It's selected movies.
Selected movies.
Oh, this is not even good. Use it like the last
There. Do the English trailer or the English version movie, either one.
Did you get it to move first?
Yeah. There you go. That's good. All right. Yay. I hope it's worth the wait. Again, this is a student film. I'm just going to show you part of it because it's 14 minutes long, but it gives you an idea of how all the different steps go in. And you can do it. You did it.
Wilma!
Why didn't you say so right away? Can't see a thing from behind that mask, and I always give myself a fright anyway. Darn, these wretched vermin. Chaos, rubbish everywhere, and the stench. I don't know why I ever thought being a devil was such a good job.
It's a great job. Done by the right person.
Anything in the post today?
No, just some fan mail from occult groupies. And utilities bills. It seems you have the fire on too much, your awfulness.
But my ad's right here on page 12, here, under Man Seeks Woman. Fallen angel in his prime seeks loyal soul for a new beginning.
Your Excellency really deserves a nice companion. It should be great. Enjoy yourself more, work less. Retire soon. We just have to adapt to today's world. So, we're going to make a video for a dating agency. Women absolutely adore a man who can cook.
Oh, cook? Of course I can cook. Now? Hello. My name is Lucifer. Let's just say Lou. I've been single for a while now, but I got plenty of friends all over the world, and when they visit me, they stay for eternity. I mean, for ages. What can I say about myself? In the Middle Ages, that is, in my middle age, I stirred things up. But I've quietened down now, and I want to get my life back on track. For example, have more time to cook and all that. So, if you think you'd like to be my hot little flame, drop me a line right away. Hey, baby. Oh, it's you. I think the whole thing's a waste of time. No one wants me anyway.
Oh, really? Well, I wonder where all these love letters came from.
Love letters? Wowee! It smells like the love of my life.
Or like cheap perfume.
Hey, Wilbur, I'll take this one first. She says I got a cute little snub nose and she wants to heat up my nights. She wants to meet me next week. In our time, that's just in 1 hour. By the hellhounds, what am I going to wear?
May I suggest something elegant and figure-hugging? And off you go.
Hey, wait. No, I'm not ready yet.
No, I'm not the kind of guy who's trying to set first sight. I am not brave enough to speak up as I might.
Hello. Is this seat taken?
Of course. We got a date, haven't we?
Yes. Yes, indeed, we do.
Does that smell of sulphur and soot to you?
I'm a chimney sweep.
Big, strong chimney sweep you are, too.
Oh, no.
Oh, you are a powerhouse of a man. Brawny, muscular, an animal. In fact, the right person to protect me and give my ex a good thrashing, the pig.
Not me. I don't do that. I've hurt enough people already. Those days are over.
Weakling!
You see how this reel is establishing these characters?
The next one.
His assistant really wants his
Of course,
job.
as we all know, you men are all chauvinist pigs anyway, you're right. So I just want you to get me pregnant, Kay.
And then Lisa said to me, she said, wouldn't it be fun if we all joined hands and went around the campfire together in a circle? And so that's exactly what we did. We all linked hands and started dancing wildly around the campfire. We felt just like Indians. And Peter kept making these funny noises the whole time. Oh, it was a great holiday camp.
Wilbur, I'm never gonna find the right woman. Never.
I don't get it. Why is it so difficult for a naive and namby-pamby fatso like you to find a nice girl? This is never going to work!
Oh, sure. Being a poisonous little dwarf makes it much easier, right?
What do you mean by that?
I get some stupid questions round here, but the really stupid ones I don't bother to answer.
All right. You'll have to come to another time to see the rest. The film actually is 14 minutes long, and the people who work on it now are working at a company, and they are directors because they have the great storytelling ability, and so they're working on all kinds of commercials and other kinds of things there. So I just wanted to show you that's mostly character animation there, but there was also a little bit of effects that you saw with the smoke and the fire and all that. So I wanted to sum up. Make it easy on the recruiter. Don't make them do extra work to try and hire you. You want to package yourself well because you are a product that the employer needs. There are incredible opportunities out there, but there are no handouts. So be flexible and be ready to take chances. Your path is not always going to be easy. Take risks. Content is what really matters, the work. We don't care about how old you are, or where you went to school, or any of that kind of thing. What we really are looking at is the demo reel and what it says about you. What makes a reel great, though? How can you make your work stand out? If your work looks like the work that a company is doing, you know, if it can be cut in and looks like their quality, their standard, even if it's not like to the extreme level that they might be, but if it looks like it could cut into their reel, that's great. That means that you can get a job because your work is right up there with theirs, or close to it. And you need to show the best possible stuff that you can do. Do not keep it to the end. Put it up front. It's basically to show that you're capable of doing the job. And it's basically to get you that phone call so that you can get that job. You want to have your marketing materials work for you so that you can get work, so you can get that interview, you get that phone call. The whole purpose is to get an interview. I want to remind you that your most valuable marketing tool, though, is not your demo reel, and it's not your resume, and it's not a cover letter. It's what people are saying about you. It's your reputation, and it precedes you. You don't know what people are saying out there about you. You should know that they're saying great things. That's what you want to do. You build it on every single job, no matter how small. Word gets around. You'd be amazed. You would be really amazed at how small this industry really is. And people float around to different companies and different countries all over the world. You might work at a tiny shop and a guy sitting next to you who says what you become pals with, and you stay in touch with him, and you do your best, and that pal of yours goes off and works at a place like Weta, you know, all the way down under. And there's a job that comes up and they say, hey, you know anybody else? And they say, yeah, oh yeah, my friend Joe Smith over there, he's fabulous. That's what you want them to say about you. Every single time, no matter where your colleagues go, no matter even your supervisors, they're going to go on to different companies. I need to tell you about a person who burned a bridge, besides this guy. I was working as a recruiter for Sky Captain and World of Tomorrow. And I recruited a lot of people for them. And one guy was supposed to start work on Monday. And the producer called me up about 10 o'clock on Monday and said, where is he? And I said, what do you mean, where is he? He's not there? And I immediately thought, oh my gosh, I hope he hasn't had a car accident or anything like that. So I called him to alleviate my, to make myself feel better and make sure that he wasn't in the hospital or something. And he answered the phone, and I said, why aren't you at work at World of Tomorrow? You were supposed to start today. He had accepted the offer, and they had talked to him, and it was, it was cast there that he was supposed to be there. And he said, well, I decided to take a different job. I'm starting next week at such and such a place. And I said, okay, good luck. And I called the producer back, and I said, well, he took a different job. And the producer said, uh-huh. He's on the list. It's a list you don't want to get on. There's a lot of people on that list. You'd be amazed. I'm amazed every time I find out that one of the people I'm trying to recruit, to get jobs is on that list. Don't do that to yourself. The World of Tomorrow might have seemed like a small shop. They grew in size. And all those people, when the project ended, which it eventually was done, and it was eventually seen in the theaters, and all those guys went off to different places. Places like Disney, the visual effects supervisors at Disney now. Do you think that that guy who didn't show up on Monday is ever going to work at Disney, as long as that guy is there? No. And all the supervisors knew about this, not just the visual effects supervisor, not just the producer, and they all went off to different companies. And that guy is not going to be able to work at any of those companies. It wasn't worth it. If you do decide that you accept a job and then later on you're thinking, oh, I shouldn't have done that, I really want to work at this other place, I want to accept a job there, call the company and tell them. Don't just not show up. Call them. At least they'll understand that. You can say, it's not right for me, I feel bad, I'm sorry, I'll try and help you. My reaction to the producer was, I will immediately find you a new person to start as soon as possible, and within 2 days I did that. But that company could have been, that film could have been set back quite a bit by that person just not showing up. Don't do that. Don't just not show up. It's a sure way to make your invisible resume be worthless. So make the phone call and just tell them you don't want to work there, that you have decided to take a different job. That's fine. It's not the perfect thing to do, but it's better than not just showing up. So your resume and demo reel are marketing tools, and if they don't work, neither do you. I want to thank you for listening, and I'm going to take questions from the floor. And if you guys are interested in winning that ATI Radeon HD 2900 XT, fill out a course evaluation at www.siegraf.org, courses evaluation, and this is course number 18. And thank you.